listening to the Unleash Greatness podcast with your host, Jonathan Mitchell. The best in personal, emotional, spiritual, and business development.
Well, good morning, good day, good whatever it is. This is Jonathan Mitchell and Unleash Greatness. Thank you so much again, as per usual, for tuning in to us. Thank you so much. So if you want to hear more podcasts or any coaching programs or blog posts or any type of inspiration unleashing your own greatness, go to unleashg.com. That's unleash, the letter G.com. You'll be able to find all sorts of wonderful shenanigans there. Today is MBA Musings Day, so I'm able to go into detail on some things with the MBA program I'm going through right now. Super excited to talk about a couple things today. This episode is sponsored by naturalmedicinemama's.com. If you are into alternative or natural medicine, please check them out. They have advice, products, classes, all sorts of good things around alternative and natural holistic medicine. Check them out. It's awesome. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm Jonathan Mitchell on Unleash Greatness. Let's get going. All right, you guys, super excited to share with you. Today is MBA Musings Day. If you're new listening in, we have 5 different episodes every single week. Yesterday was my wonderful friend Sean Douglas. We have interview day on Monday. Today is MBA Musings Day. Just get to talk about some things from the MBA program I'm going through right now. Tomorrow is book review day. I get to choose one of my books I love to read or ones have been suggested to me to do a book review. Thursday is story time. I get to tell stories from friends of mine or from cool articles or stories I find online that are inspirational or helpful. And lastly is spiel day, where I just kind of riff and wing it and just talk about things that I have felt impressed or inspired to talk about. So today is MBA Musings Day. So if you've been listening in, my class and I just got done with our last couple of classes and just started 2 new ones. So right now we're now going into economics and finance. So I know it doesn't sound like too happy or exciting of topics, but I'm actually enjoying a lot of what we're going through right now. Both of them have very intriguing concepts that are obviously applicable for entrepreneurs. So I'm going to talk about a couple things just around, starting your own business and have you think about some things you may want to consider as and if you are starting your own business of some kind. So we have to read a lot of things for both these classes. One of the books we're reading right now is one called The Roadside MBA, Backroad Lessons for Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Small Businesses, where it's about these 3 economic professors who take a trip across the nation and get to just kind of pick the brains of small businesses and franchisees, owners, and all type of people who are just doing business and just see what they're doing right, what they're doing not necessarily wrong, but what their challenges are, what they could improve on, and all that kind of stuff. Some pretty incredible stuff. So I'm going to talk about just a couple things today. The first one that I've been personally thinking a lot about is the economies of scale. So there's different principles inside of business that you want to look at. And again, it all kind of depends on what you want to have happen as a result of running a business. Like some people just want to, as an example, some people just want to be a massage therapist and work with 20 to 30 clients a week or a month or whatever it is and make good money doing that, and they're totally happy. Like that's great. If you want to grow, like most cases, I would say, well, at least of the people that I talk to, I'd probably say 90% of the people that I talk to want in some way, shape, or form to grow and to keep growing inside of their business. So in order to continue growing, you have to have what's called economies of scale, which just means that your business is able to grow past the point of where, besides like as an example, massage therapist, past the point of you trading your time for an hourly wage as a therapist. You want to be able to start making it a way or a business for you to make money, even if you're not there actually doing the massage therapy. So one of the things they talked about is being able to figure out how to effectively spread over all of the costs that come in line with what you're doing. Let's just take the massage therapist, so a service-oriented business. So they have some fixed costs involved. So number one would be any rent of a room they have to do. If they have to buy certain materials, like a massage table, that's a fixed cost. As they go through and they start to figure out what they have to pay for, regardless if someone comes in the door or not, they have to pay what's called fixed costs. So there's that. or there's variable costs that is like, let's just say lotion that varies depending on how many people they have to massage. And then obviously, and then I'd say like credit card fees that goes according to how much they've sold or not, or how much they go through. And then lastly is average. So it talks a lot about in this book about usually as you get more customers in, your fixed costs and then your average costs go down because you have more people come in. What you want to find out, or what you want to create, like a massage therapist, is a way for you to make money outside of your own time, or at least past what you're able to do. Because one of the things they pointed out was that many entrepreneurs, aren't able to grow past the point of like one location because of two different factors. One is not able to trust people to move forward from one location because of, obviously the one person who cares most about the business is the one who's making sure everything's quality. And then two is quantity, being able to create enough product or service to keep up with demand, or even to have the demand to keep up with. So let's talk about quality first off. So in this book, they talk about, I'm going to skip over from massage therapist to a lady who ran a coffee shop. So she made this most incredible coffee, and her goal, and I should say her competition, was Starbucks. And so she had to create the best quality coffee in order for her to compete with Starbucks, because obviously there's a Starbucks on every corner, and she was one location. And she created these coffee mixtures, and she did everything from, like, she knew everything about coffee, from how hot or warm the outside temperature should be, how many stirs you should do with the spoon, how many things of sugar you put in, like everything that had to do with the coffee, like the grounds, if the grounds were frozen, if they're warmed up before, if it was microwaved or roasted, or all sorts of things. Like, she was an expert of experts around coffee. She put pride and love into every single coffee that she made, but it was difficult for her to create that quality at a scale, because the quality as she opened up another store and trusted to somebody else was not the same as her own making sure she was making things happen the way she wanted to. So on the weak side, she was a little bit more of a micromanagement, so she had to make sure everything was done perfectly because she had a very high level of professionalism and expectation. And so she wasn't able to grow as much. Now, they compared that to another company that was a bar and food location that kind of did the same thing, but they grew really quick. It was called Mugshots. They bought a location, and they grew within a year up to 2 or 3 locations within the year, and kept what they wanted to have happen because they were able to sell their employees or managers on a vision for what they were trying to accomplish. And they had quality systems involved that made sure that even if they weren't there, that quality was being done at a certain point, and they could get feedback immediately if something wasn't being done according to what they were wanting. So if you're wanting to go into quality, you got to ask yourself, like, what are you really looking into? Do you want to have something that is of quality? And the answer is usually yes. And if it is, how do you have the systems involved for you to keep tabs on if something is of quality or not? Second thing is quantity. So not just it's kind of a balance between the two. It's like when someone, like a massage therapist, there's only so many hours that someone can work during the day. So if they work 10 hours a day and get paid $40 an hour, it's $400 a day. They're going to be capped out at that. They're never going to go above that a day. Now, if they made their own studio, and if they had and hired out 2 or 3 other massage therapists, and they took a chunk or at least a piece out of their massages for marketing that particular location, and not just them, they can make money whether they were massaging or not. And they can make sure that the people who were, the team that they had was doing the massages according to the level of professionalism they were looking for. So that's just an example of what you can do. You want to look at, how do you scale your business so it keeps the quality? How do you keep track of the quality? And then secondly, how do you have enough quantity in order for you to move forward? And sometimes, I know several people who have businesses, they have to create products, for instance, and they're not in a place where they can hire that out. They have to manually do it. And sometimes that's the case. You do have to manually take care of things until you're in a place to move forward. And sometimes you can just jump into it. It just kind of depends on your own life and your own budget. So that's economies of scale, being able to make your business or find ways to make your business grow outside of just one location or your own effort. You want to make it grow outside of that. Next up from there is barriers to entry. So a lot of times there's some businesses that you may have a barrier to entry, like let's just say, for instance, Starbucks. So in order for someone to mass produce coffee or to have a chain like they do, to be recognized at a market level like Starbucks would take a lot of time to compete. However, like this lady with a specialty coffee shop, she was able to brand very slowly from where she was and grow into it. Speaking of economies of scale and this same concept of barriers to entry is Facebook. So I'm old enough to know that I was one of the first people in Idaho to get a Facebook account because I was at college. And if you don't know the story already, or maybe if you're too young to remember, but Facebook at one time did not launch as a mass market social media platform. It was marketed specifically to college level age people like myself at the time. So it started obviously with Mark Zuckerberg in Harvard, and it kind of launched into different locations. So they started at one college, went to another one, and they just started bursting out into the college scene until it hit mass market. And then all of a sudden, blam, it just exploded into where everybody was doing it. It wasn't just college-age kids anymore. It went from, to literally teenagers all the way up to grandmas and grandpas and all sorts of people. It kind of hit the mass influence level to where everybody was on Facebook, and now half the known universe, at least on the earth, is on Facebook. So it's kind of crazy. So they were not the first social media, but they competed by looking at where the lowest barrier to entry was, which was specifically colleges at the time, because there was Twitter and there was MySpace and all these there's a couple of different things they did, but they were very unique, and they focused their energy on one particular demographic and then grew out of that into the mass market where it is now. So you don't want to think to yourself, okay, I'm going to have a Facebook level company or like an Uber level company. Even Uber started, I don't know if it was in San Fran or LA, but they started in one city first and launched from there. So it's kind of like you want to take something, talking about economies of scale, where can you grow the most effective with where you're at with what you have? And then secondly is barriers of entry, is knowing and asking the question, number one, do I personally have a barrier to entry? Can I grow this into where I want to go? And secondly, will my competitors have the same barrier to entry? Will they have less of a hindrance to grow a business? If someone came in and had the same social media platform or product or service, are they going to have the same barriers to entry, or do I have some sort of patent, copyright, some advantage that will give me the ability to go above and beyond what anybody else can do? So I'm going to kind of stop there because there's a lot of other things we could go into, but just think again, if you have your own business or thinking about your own business, think about economies of scale. How can you scale up your business to where it's not just you doing an hourly thing? How can you make it so you have a business of people that you make money regardless if you're there doing something or not? And being able to have quality and quantity at the same time. And how do you track that, both of those? How do you track the qualities being done and that the quantity is being done as well? Secondly is just the barriers to entry. So think about yourself, and again, and compare it to Facebook. If you have a company you want to grow, focus on the specific demographic and niche you want to grow at first, and become super focused, just like Facebook did with colleges, and then grow into the mass market. Don't think you're going to go from zero to the whole United States in a year. It's not going to happen. It's not how anyone's done it, but it can happen if you do it in the correct way, which is focusing on a niche, growing it from there, and then taking over where you can. So I hope these MBA musings are beneficial to you. I just want to tell you, as always, thank you again for listening in. For more of these, again, every Tuesday, we go over to the MBA program. Thank you, you guys. I am Jonathan Mitchell. This is Unleash Greatness. Go to unleashg.com for more, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.